Devices announced it will lay off 4% of its staff globally. Boeing also plans to cut 10% of its global workforce. Joining us now to talk layoffs, also combined with the return to the office, Yale University lecturer Joanne Lippman. She's also a CNBC contributor. I guess one of the things, one of the points you're making, Joanne, is maybe, let's see, there's buyer's markets, seller's markets. What do you call it when a boss versus employees starts to get the upper hand again? What kind of market is that? But you think maybe we're starting to see a little shift that way?
So thanks, Joe. Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see a bit of a shift in terms of where the power resides from the employees to the employers. But I wouldn't get too excited about that right now because, look, the economy is still very strong. Consumer demand is still strong. And while we're hearing an awful lot about these very, very high-profile companies that are doing layoffs, for the most part, they are in the tech sector, in our business, in the media sector. And overall, you're not seeing, they represent a very small percentage of the companies that are out there and the employment that's out there, right? Unemployment is low. But the other thing, Joe, that we're seeing is they are trying to get people back into the office, particularly some of these very high profile companies like Amazon want them 5 days a week in the office.
What?
But again, they're a really small minority. The latest figures show that 80% of companies are still offering some version of remote hybrid work. And that does not seem to be shifting all that much.
I'm not going to...
Before he gets into it, it's crazy. Like she said, I come from the tech sector. I've been through a layoff since 2020 already. Been one of those people in that category, moved from New Jersey to North Carolina, then got hit. So it's funny as they talk about returning to work. I feel like some of the companies use that as a strategy, even the hybrid situation where, they're using that as a way to not bring people or as a way to let people go, right? So if you don't work near the office anymore, right? Before it was all good. 2020, 2021, they're like, oh, we're never going to go back to the office. It's going to be a big hit to the commercial real estate industry. And then all of a sudden they're talking about, people are not as productive when companies made so much money during those time periods. And then to say people weren't productive, and then how were you still making a profit, right? Or it was destroying the culture. And then they requested people to move back into the office, knowing that some people had moved to different states and they could not come back into the office, or they didn't get the jab. And so they use that as an excuse to lay some people off. And it's really interesting. Like she said, the tech industry hit really badly, the media industry. So you're seeing in the news right now, some of these media companies, and they're blaming it on the election. I can't say that it wasn't going to happen anyway, because again, they are coming up with excuses, even though we understand the artificial intelligence is taking jobs. The film industry is getting hit. They were pushing back. We saw that a lot of, every industry where you see that the unions are pushing back, we saw it in the film or the entertainment industry. That was big in the summer of 2023. Just a few weeks ago, right before the election, we saw the longshoremen pushing back. The car and auto industries, we're seeing them losing jobs from Jeep, Stellantis. A lot of those companies near Michigan, they're losing tons of jobs. Now we're seeing Boeing has been going through it again, scandal after scandal after scandal. And now they're laying off tons of people. So it's just shedding jobs. And then when you hear someone say that, oh, well, the economy is doing well, it really ticks people off, and unemployment is low. Anyone that knows, because I was a labor relations major, I was a double major, and that's one of my majors. Again, just understanding how they calculate those numbers is going to be very important. So again, they're going to continue to gaslight and make it seem like everything's okay. And again, that's why they lost the election. So let's hear what else they have to say. But it's going to be a lot more layoffs. And I don't think, even though we have a new incumbent president coming in, I don't think that the layoffs are going to stop. There's going to be a completely new way of working that's coming. Like I said, artificial intelligence is coming. How do we work with the machines? And what does that mean as they try to set up new regulations? So they're going to try to pull people back into the office that they know can't come back into the office and give them a separate package.
Let's say it's a conspiracy theory, but you actually, since layoffs might be coming, you think that some CEOs are demanding coming back so that they can get people to say, okay, forget it. I don't want to take this job and shove it. I don't work here anymore. Do you think that's actually happening?
Look at her laughing.
Go ahead.
Every time a company announces this 5-day a week, we're got to come back, that's the theory that surrounds it, is that they want to lose some people. And, you know, potentially there's some truth to that. But the fact is that bosses like to have people on the premises. I've spent most of my career as an editor-in-chief, and I like.
Yeah, bosses like to have people on the premises. And I remember I had a big blow up with my boss or manager, director, or VP, and 2020, right before the whole pandemic went down, and we had a conversation that bosses want people to be in the office, and they're not in the office, right? And especially during these 4 years, it was a great experiment to say that guess what, we're able to do the work, and you're still able to be profitable, even though we're not in the office. So there's no real justifiable reason why people need to be in the office, and I think that's. Once people figure that out, right? Because me working in the tech sector, I knew that for years. We have people that work across the world, especially with globalization. It doesn't make sense. It's almost like you're contradicting yourself in the tech industry. You have people that work all across the world with different hours, and they get the work done, and that's all they care about. So when did we start caring about having a family at work, right? It's all about coming to work, getting your job done, and getting out the door so that the company is profitable. That's to be in the relationship. So people coming into the office, it's crazy. And it's also a big issue that we're seeing now. They want people in the office, but then people that have children, they're seeing big issues at school shootings. They got to leave work every other day because of these problems. It's just crazy. It's crazy. So let's see what else this lady has to say. I mean, you can clearly see that she knows the truth, but she's bullshit.
To have people in the office. And there's something to be said. I totally am very empathetic to the idea of culture and mentorship and creativity and all of those things. But that said, there is a reason why hybrid remote work remains so prevalent. And the reason is that it works, right? We are now far enough along that we have seen tons of research that's already come out on this. So we know 98% of employees want it. We know from Nick Bloom, who you guys know well at Stanford, who has studied this, who has found
98%. I can't even watch the rest. 98% of people want to be able to go into. I know. I will say some of the drawbacks that I've seen not going into the office. Weight gain is one of them, right? You know, you do kind of miss going into the office, especially when sometimes people have families, they want some time alone to drive and listen to audiobooks and things like that, get into the gym, kind of socialize. But I don't think that for 98% of Americans, the trade-off to going into the office versus being remote is true. I think this is, you know, I'm not sure she's trying to sell that book, but she needs to try next time. With that, I'm out. I'd love to hear you guys' opinion on this. Would you rather go back into the office, especially if you're somebody that moved away from your organization, out of the state, you're working remotely, and then they say, oh, you need to come back in hybrid twice a week? Like, what does that mean for you and your family and your finances? Does it even make sense? Is this a good thing or not? Is it layoffs in disguise? I think so. Love to hear from you guys.